Hi guys, welcome back to the world of Craig. To those of you that haven't been to my channel before, hello and welcome. And to those of you that are back again to see more of what I've been up to, hello. So today's video is all about my grooming routine. And I'm like a massive product junkie. I love products. If you've seen my other two videos, my first two videos, you'll know that I just generally love products. So this is about the few products that I use. Generally takes me about 7 minutes in the morning before I dash off to work. And it's basically a really simple routine that anybody can follow. So I'm prepped and ready for my grooming. So the first step is my under eye and my eyelid skin. My eyelids very slightly discolored, they get slightly pink, and obviously, as most of us have slight dark circles under my eyes. So I use a Tom Ford highlighting pen. I think, unfortunately, this has been discontinued from the range. I think there's a couple of shades left, but the shade that I use, which is amber, has been discontinued. Thanks, Tom. But whilst it's not discontinued, I bulk buy and just hope that I'll find something to replace it in the future. It's a little bit like a YSL Touche Eclat, and it has a slightly apricot tone, so it neutralizes any under eye darkness that you have. I've been using this for a couple of years. My boyfriend, who's a makeup artist, put me onto it. It's a fantastic product. If they've replaced it with something else in the range, then go check it out, because it really, really is a fantastic highlighter. It's got a really creamy texture to it, so it doesn't dry out underneath the eyes or go crepey, which I think is really important when you're basically trying to just illuminate the face. So applied like that. Then I use a little stubby MAC brush just to very gently blend that in. You could use your finger to do that. I mean, you know, that would give you the same effect. I just find that if I use a really stubby brush like this, I can't remember what number this brush is, but I will put the brush number down below. I will list it down below. I find that if you use a little brush, it doesn't take too much of the product off. So using your finger, you tend to take the product off as you're applying it, whereas a small brush like this, you can spread it out really evenly whilst keeping the product around your eyes. So once I've dealt with my under eyes and my eyelids, then it's about concealing, and it's a real sort of minimal concealing, really. I'm not putting a full face of foundation or concealer on my face. It's just the areas that need any kind of touching up. And for that, I use a MAC palette, and this one is Pro Conceal and Correct, and that's medium. So basically what you've got inside this palette is you've got something that is corrective for your under eye, which has a slight peach tone to it. Then you've got some concealer colours here. You've got yellow, a couple of skin tones obviously. You've got a yellow concealer here which cancels out red. This is really awesome if you've got a really angry, horrendous spot. Put that on first, it kills out the redness, and then you put whichever colour you need, or a couple of different colours blended together. But I really, I love that, and I keep it obviously in my bag. If a spot pops up, cover it with the yellow, neutralize it with the yellow, then cover it with one of the others. And then this one here is actually Vintage Rose. It's blush that my partner, my boyfriend, custom made this palette for me with this in it. And that's basically, I think it's a blush color, but it's just throughout like the winter months, if I'm really pale and I'm looking a little bit ropey, that's just really, really good to give me a bit of color in my cheeks. I don't use it very often. I basically use these ones more often, the ones in the middle, but it's just kind of cool to have that in there, and it's custom and he made it for me, so it's kind of nice. So again, I use my little stubby matte brush, which number eludes me, And I'm just going to use this top colour here, which is a slight colour corrector. So it has a tiny little bit of apricot in it, and I'm just going to place that just very lightly in the corner of my eye, and that basically just lightens up any darkness that I have in the corner there. And it's just a tiny little amount. There's hardly anything on the brush at all, but it just lightens up the inner corner of the eye. Then I'm going to move on to these two colours here. Now, I'm really tanned at the moment, suntan, because I've been on holiday, so I'm using more of this shade, but I basically use a mix of the two. And this palette, as I said before, is medium. So I'm going to take a little bit of the darker colour and just run it down the centre of my nose. I have a broken capillary here in the middle of my nose, which needs to be lasered, but I haven't had time to do that. So I just take a little bit of concealer and just run it down the middle of my nose. Okay. And then the lighter colour here, just work in to the corners of my nose. And that basically just cleans everything up. Like I said before, I don't go around the whole of my face with concealer, but I'm just touching up the areas that need it. Because I've got a tan at the moment, I don't really have many blemishes, which is good, thank goodness for summer. So I don't have anything really at the moment that I need to cover up. It's really just a case of just evening things out. So that's it for my concealer palette. So once I've concealed, it's on to a bit of colour. Now it is the summertime at the moment, but I still do like to add a little bit of bronzer onto my face. And for that I use Tom Ford bronzing gel. Now, I've been using this for a couple of years. It's a great product. It's quite scary when you squeeze it out of the tube because it's really, really, really dark brown. I don't know if you guys, there you go. It's really, really dark brown, super tan. You don't need to use a lot of it. That is probably enough to do my face, to do all of my face. The great thing about this product is it's water resistant. So unless you take it off with cleanser or soap and water, it doesn't come off. You won't sweat it off, it doesn't rub off, it has to be actually washed off. So it's really great for guys. I mean, that's obviously why they formulate it for guys. It also has a red base. So it's very natural. It's not yellow base like a lot of women's bronzers are, it's a red base bronzer. So good for Tom Ford for putting that out there for us. So I use a MAC brush to put this on with. The number eludes me. It's kind of rubbed off on there somewhere. I will list the number of it down below. It's kind of like a foundation or a powder brush. Any brush that's got kind of long enough bristles to pick up the product and to blend it out onto the face will do. So just take a little bit of the bronzer and just work it into the ends of the bristles, and then I just work it on the outside edges of my face. So forehead, around the side of my face like this. I'm basically blending this product all the time. You've got a while to blend this out before it actually sets, so you basically want to work with the product. And the reason that I'm applying it all around the outer corners of my face is because I've got quite a long face. So I would catch the sun naturally and do catch the sun naturally around my forehead, the tops of my cheeks, the top of my nose. So I'm basically putting it anywhere where I would catch the sun naturally. And just work it up into the hairline. Makeup artists will probably kill me for not swirling my brush correctly. I'm just going to take a little bit more product. You want to squeeze this out in like tiny little amounts because this tube, I've had it for about 18 months. It really does last a long time. You don't want to get too crazy with it unless of course you want to be really, really tan, and then that's fine. So I want a little bit more on this side. the end of my nose, down the middle of my nose there. And then I just basically, once I've blended that in, I just take whatever is left on my brush and I just go under my neck, because no one ever suntans under there, so it's good to get a little bit of colour on there. There we go. So like I said, I work around the outside edges of my face because I have a long face and kind of thin face, so it just brings everything down very slightly. And that's my bronzer done. So now it's on to dealing with the shine. I could use a powder. I could use like a translucent powder to take away any shine or to stop shine coming through the bronzer. But my product of choice is this really cool little mattifying stick from Estee Lauder. I think that this has been discontinued. So I've just bought like 4 of them. They are online. I will put the link down below. They are discounted. I think they're 30% off. So they're about £14 at the moment. This has been out for about 6 months. It was something that they launched, I think, just to try to appeal to a younger market. It's a really, really cool product. I've already been through 2 of them. So I use this every day and it's always in my bag because my skin gets really shiny. It's basically a 2-phase stick. It has a white mattifying ring around the outside, which has got like a slightly silicone, sort of silky feel to it. And then it has kind of colour in the middle. To be honest, I don't really think the colour does anything. It doesn't look like a colour on your skin, which is why it's really good for guys. And it's also really good for all like skin colours. But it's the white bit around the outside that does the mattifying. So I just basically put that wherever my skin would become shiny throughout the day. And I just work it on my forehead, on the end of my nose. Because it's got such a nice texture to it, like a sort of silicone-y, slippy, kind of blurring texture, I use a little bit there on my cheekbones and in my eyes. Okay. And then I take my matte brush, which number eludes me, which will be listed down below, and I just blend that into the skin. Now you can see, I can see in my mirror here, so I'm sure you guys can see on camera, on my video, sorry, there is a camera in front of me, that basically has already taken away any shine. And as you guys may know, if you're watching for the first time, hello. If you're coming back for more, hello. But as you guys know, I work in a hair salon and I work with, it's a hot environment, I'm blow drying all day. This stick, it doesn't go matte, doesn't go shiny at all, it stays matte all day. So when I leave the salon at night time, after like a 12-hour day, my skin is still matte. So it's a really, really fantastic product. It really does the job. There are other mattifiers out there which I will be investigating once I've got through my stack of these, but for now this is like my go-to for my mattifying. So next it's brow time. A couple of years ago, my boyfriend, who's a makeup artist, introduced me to this product. And this is MAC Pro Wear Brow Set, I think. Yes. It's waterproof, okay? And it's basically like a mascara, but for your brows. It's really amazing. If there's one thing that I do on a busy day before I go to work, is I put this in my eyebrows. Now, a lot of guys would be like, what do you want to put stuff in your eyebrows for? And trust me, when I'm doing this in the middle of the gym, changing room, I do get some funny looks, but at the end of the day, I don't really care. I've got good brows, my eyebrows are really thick, I'm really lucky, but this it does make a difference. I've got this crazy tash, which kind of draws attention to the middle of my face. So I find using a brow product just to define my brow area brings more attention to my eyes. It also helps to draw attention from any under eye bags, which is always a good thing. So this is basically a waterproof brow mascara. And what I do first of all is I just take off any excess product off the brush. So you don't want to overload your brows with it really, you just want to thicken up the hairs very slightly and give them a bit of colour. So once I've wiped off the excess, it's just a case of really gently just going through your brows. You can see already, even on that one brow, what difference that makes. Now this is the darkest colour that they do, and this is called Ebony. They do it in lots of different shades. So if you compare this eyebrow to this eyebrow, it's just thicker, the hairs are slightly more dense, and the other thing is this has like a gel-like dry to it. So when it dries, you can't feel it in the hair, but it keeps the eyebrows in place. So it also means that if your brows are quite long like mine are, I don't tweeze any of my brow out, I just let them be natural. A lot of guys do tweeze and there's nothing wrong with that, but I don't tweeze mine. It just keeps them in place all day long. So that's one brow done. I think I'll better do the other one, otherwise I'm going to look a little bit asymmetric. So that's both brows matching, and that's kind of like my day-to-day brow grooming, if you like. Sometimes if I want to build it up a little bit more, I want to go a little bit heavier, I use a little bit of MAC Concrete eyeshadow. So I've had this one for quite a while, and I've hit pan there, gone right the way through, and basically I use a fine angled MAC brush, if you can see that there, and I always wet the brush down when I'm going to use this, because I find that it's much easier to use the product if the brush is slightly wet. So I'm just going to spray that with a little bit of La Mer the Mist. And then I'm just going to work a little bit of product onto my brush. Concrete is like a very, very, very dark, flat brown. So it's really good if you've got darker hair and if you've got tan skin, excuse me. So just take off too much excess. And then I'm just gonna go into my eyebrows where there's just slightly finer areas, where there's just a few hairs missing, and just build them up very slightly. I mean, you can control how heavy you go, obviously, and it's entirely up to you, but I'm just filling in the areas through here where the eyebrow hairs are just a little bit sparse. So I'm going to do the other eyebrow and then I'll be back to finish off.
Alhamora!
So, once I've finished with my brows, with my Concrete MAC eyeshadow, just filling in the corners here and just a little bit around the edges like you saw me do, I take a spoolie brush. This is a MAC one, but everyone makes a spoolie brush, and if you have eyebrows, you need a spoolie brush. And I basically just groom my brows into place, and the brow set that I used previously will just basically keep them where you want them all day. So during the summer months, or when my skin's really oily and it's come through any mattifying products that I've used, I like to use a little bit of a matte bronze just to take any shine away, or just sometimes just to make myself a little bit more tanned. This is a limited edition component that MAC had out last year, but it is basically their standard matte bronze, which is a matte bronze. It's, it does what it says on the tin. It doesn't have any shimmer in it, so it's great for guys. If you're a guy and you want to use a bronzer with shimmer in it, that's completely fine. But this one is matte. I'm not going to use any now because I'm not shiny, but basically I'd use my big MAC brush that I used to apply my bronzer, and I would just apply this in the same areas. So just on the outside of my face and on my cheeks especially, I can get quite shiny through here. I wouldn't take it right up to my under eyes because I want to keep that the lightest part of my face. Like I said before, I've got a long face, and that just helps to narrow my face, bring my face down a little bit. And also, it looks more natural if you don't take it right up to your under eye, because your under eyes generally aren't super matte if you're a guy. If you want to take it right up to your under eye, then that's totally fine, but that's not what I do. So that's it for my day-to-day grooming routine. Normally takes me about 7 minutes start to finish to do. It's something I do most days before I go to work, and it's just basically hiding any imperfections and making the best of what I have. Obviously, it's up for you to interpret this and to make it your own. It'd be really fantastic to hear any comments down below. If you like what you've seen in this video, then please give it a like and obviously subscribe, because there's lots more going to be coming soon on my channel. Check out my Instagrams, they'll be linked down below, and I'll see you all again soon.